There may be somebody who is like, don't like podcasts. If you put it into a different format and turn it into a blog, part of a podcast into a blog post, focus on a specific topic and create something that is more appealing to somebody who wants to read rather than somebody who loves to listen to podcasts while they're on the treadmill at the gym.
Hello, and welcome back to Beyond Common Business Secrets. We have an amazing guest here with us today. John Egan is the author of The Stripped Down Guide to Content Marketing. It contains secrets for success for beginners. And John is a content creator and marketer who believes the world needs more high-quality writing, and I couldn't agree more. He began his writing career in newspaper journalism, rising through several editorial positions before entering the content marketing business in 2010 as an editor-in-chief at Bankrate Insurance. Later, John served as editor-in-chief at two Austin startups, Squarefoot, which is now part of Storable, which is amazing because we all have heard of that, and Lawn Starter. He has in-house experience developing content marketing programs for all three companies. John, I'm so excited to have you here today. I know that we have been waiting to have you on the podcast for a long time. So welcome to Beyond Common Business Secrets.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. So tell me what triggered this passion for content writing within you?
Well, I don't know that it was a passion that was triggered. I've been a creator of content in some form or fashion all my life, but I kind of landed in content marketing. And I didn't really know what content marketing was before 2010. It was kind of a foreign concept to me. And when I got hired by Bankrate Insurance, that was my first formal introduction to content marketing, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's amazing. Now, do you do content writing full time now, for different companies, or do you how is life work for you?
So a lot of the content I write now is about personal finance, which is also another niche that I just kind of wound up in accidentally. It wasn't like I studied finance in school or something like that. And so I write a lot of content for folks like Experian, Capital One, Forbes Advisor, US News and World Report, all having to do with things like credit cards, loans, debt, and those sorts of things.
Well, that's amazing. What do you think that business owners, because our audience is primarily business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs. And what do you think are the three most important things that business owners need to know about content marketing?
Well, first of all, I think it's something that they don't need to be afraid of. Content marketing can be as big or as small as you want it to be. And especially if you're a small business, you don't need to have this grandiose content marketing plan. You can use a couple of avenues to produce and distribute your content. And that leads to my next point, which is making sure that where you post the content and how you promote the content is where your audience is. For instance, if you're a big B2B company, chances are your folks aren't spending a whole lot of time on TikTok. So it might not make sense to be on TikTok versus having a blog or a podcast or having a YouTube channel or something like that.
Well, what do you mean? TikTok's all the rage. No, I'm messing with you. Because I hear that from people. They're like, I'm supposed to be on TikTok. Okay, what are your goals? Who said? I always go back to who said and what are your goals?
Yeah, I mean, it's great for a lifestyle brand or something like that. If you're a business that has that sort of vibe, that's great. But I think people need to really dig down deep and say, okay, here's where we really need to be. And my third point in content marketing would be making sure that you keep up with it, that it's not something that you just kind of do and then, we really don't want to do it anymore. You really need to be consistent with it, and you need to commit to it.
So what do you suggest for, business owners that have, like, they're wearing all the hats, right? They don't have all those slots filled yet. What do you suggest for them to stay consistent and, to keep showing up with their content plan?
Well, I think it's all about scheduling and planning. So there's a lot of tools out there that you can use to organize your content marketing and to schedule things. I use tools to schedule blog posts, and I use an old-fashioned spreadsheet to keep track of the content I'm writing for my clients. So there are various ways you can keep track of things and make sure the trains are still running.
Yeah, because that's true. It's like I always, like, for both myself and my clients, I'm always asking the question of, what can you do and what can you take away? Because if you want to put a system that you're going to, make a habit or ritual and have like consistency, you've got to map out, like, okay, it's going to take a year. Like, I always say, just pretend it takes a year, and at least don't even start unless you commit to a year of anything.
Yeah.
It's a diet, a workout plan, a lifestyle switch, a business change. Like, it's like, you need to give it a year. I don't care what anyone says on TikTok. And I do love TikTok. I'm on there for fun. And it does actually grow my business, but it's so funny because you still have to be committed. You have to make a commitment. So, like, content, like, I love that you're saying that content marketing is part of the plan. It's not like you're not going to hit the easy button. You still have to be consistent.
Yeah. I mean, nobody said that's easy, and it does take time. It does take energy. It doesn't necessarily take a whole lot of money. And, you can tap into internal resources. You can find freelancers who might be able to do it for a reasonable amount of money. Interns, if you bring on an intern who handles your social media accounts, interns are hungry for experience. So there are any number of ways you can approach it so that you're not breaking the bank in order to produce content and distribute it.
So what inspired you to write a book about the stripped down guide to content marketing? Like, what inspired this to happen?
I didn't have a book like this when I started, so it would have been nice to have something that kind of laid out the basics and gave some examples of how things work. Content marketing has evolved a lot since 2010, obviously. And so I think there's more content out there about content marketing, but I felt like we needed something that wasn't a 30,000 foot view of content marketing. It needed to be very nuts and bolts, very granular in terms of, here's what search engine optimization is, and here's what you need to know about it. And here's how to promote your content and why it's important to promote your content, and how to get by on few resources and still succeed with content marketing. Things like that, especially small businesses, maybe they don't have a lot of experience with content marketing and they're new to it, or they're just like, gee, I really want to do this. I know what it is, but I need some guidance, some help.
So you wrote this book for, like, that person just getting started. That's like, I need the book on the right. Like, it was missing. So, what is your hope that people walk away with? Like, when they run out, they buy this amazing book that John's created, the Stripped Down Guide to Content Marketing, and I'm home, I'm reading it. What is it that you want me to experience after reading it?
Well, I want you to be energized about being able to tackle content marketing and do it successfully. I want you to know that it is a marathon, not a sprint. And, you mentioned earlier about having a 1-year plan. You do need to commit to it. And it's not something where you kind of dip in and dip out. It's something you really need to stick to in order for it to be successful. And you're going to have failures along the way. I think the most important thing that I want to try to convey is very basic, and that is you can and should promote and produce high quality content. And by that, I mean content that really stands up to what else is out there and doesn't water down your brand by creating content that is kind of, not so great. there's plenty of bad content out there. Don't be those people.
So I love that you said that. So what do you suggest that we can do to create, like really good content? Like what are your secrets on that? We're here to talk about business secrets. So what are the secrets on creating really good content?
Well, one thing I think I've learned recently is know when to ask for help. I'm not an email marketer, but I needed email marketing as part of my content marketing package in terms of what I do on a personal basis. So I hired somebody who's great at that. She produces wonderful email content that I would have been banging my head against the wall. I had to do a PowerPoint recently for an online course that's accompanying this book, and I just got stuck. So I reached out to the publishing company I work with and said, can you suggest anybody who can do these PowerPoints?
Yeah.
And for a few $100s, I hired her. She did it. She did a fantastic job. She specializes in that. So don't be afraid to, and it may just be reaching out for help, for advice, and not paying for it. If you know somebody who is an expert in XYZ aspect of content marketing, then maybe, tap their expertise and see if they might be able to give you a couple of pointers or read up on it. But I also think that you need to teach yourself some things too. I used to be an amateur, and I still am, but I've gotten a lot better with doing graphics. And there's plenty of tools like Canva out there where you can do graphics very easily. And it looks like you spent a whole lot of money and paid somebody else to do it when you didn't. And I had to teach myself at one of the startups I worked at to do design because I didn't have a budget. I didn't have anybody I could offload infographics to. So I had to learn how to do it. And if I can do it, because I'm not an artist, I may be an artist with words, but I'm not an artist with graphic images. If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Amen to that. I say that all the time because I had to teach myself how to use Canva and tons, but I can't even draw a stick figure. Like
Right.
I'm an artist with words, conversation, and hair. That's it. Those are my areas of art. Anything else, I can just say that looks good. That doesn't right. But Canva is it's just you kind of have to do whatever it takes. And that is something that is a game changer. So it's you pair your content skills with that. And I think you've got some good stuff for business owners to save time.
Well, and really it's important to find those tools that work for you.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to get online and Google best tools for whatever, or best software for whatever. Or you can ask colleagues, what are you using? What works well for you? Canva's been a godsend. I have produced so much content to promote my book using Canva. It's amazing. And then once you have a template for certain things, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, you can do it over and over.
Right.
When I am in working with some of my clients inside my group programs, we have a lesson that is how do you, because sometimes it's just the mindset around tech. And I'm like, okay, this one's different. So we will walk people through the basic fundamentals so that they can create the templates and then use them again and again.
And let me interject real quick because I don't want to forget another tool I love. I'm not a paid spokesperson for this company. It's called Trello. It's a project management software. And if you have various moving parts with your content marketing program, it can organize things so well, and it's so intuitive. And that's the thing I like about Canva and Trello is you don't need a manual to be able to figure out how to work these. It's pretty intuitive, and pretty much anybody can get the hang of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for saying that. So a lot of the clients that I work with and a lot of our audience that listen to the show come from a creative space, or I have a lot of authors, coaches, as well. So, what are ways that you suggest to create like authority so that your clients seek you out and just like build trust with the future clients? Like, what are ways that you know that we can build more of that authority from the content marketing standpoint?
Well, my book is a prime example of what I'm about to say, thought
Okay.
leadership.
Okay.
People need to be thought leaders in whatever industry they're in and be seen as an authority. So that may be blog posts, YouTube videos, TikTok, if that works for you, whatever avenue it is, it makes the most sense. That's where you need to be to promote ideas about things that are going on in the industry. I did something a few months ago for the Content Marketing Institute about tools that you can use to, if you don't have much money,
Okay.
tools that you can use in content marketing that can help you. And so that is an example of thought leadership. Thought leadership can be talking about trends in your industry or a roundup of statistics about your industry. It plants your flag in the ground in terms of, I know what the heck I'm talking about.
I love that. So if somebody's just getting started as a business owner with the content marketing, what do you think are like sort of those things that they can do to get started that are going to, for the investment of time? Because, you know, it's small amount of time, small budget in the beginning. We all know that when we're getting started. Um, when you have a small budget and a small investment of time, like what are the things that you see that we can do with content marketing to get the biggest bang for our buck, whether it's time or money?
So one thing I would suggest is blogging, because it costs nothing if you do it yourself, and it does take time and you do need to put some thought into it. But the nice thing about that is you don't have to blog on your own website. You can blog on LinkedIn, you can blog on Medium, there's any number of platforms where you can blog. Ideally, you want your blog to be on your website, but it doesn't have to be. So you can
So,
start there and just get content out there that says, hey world, I'm here and I've got something to say.
so let's dig into this a little bit. So if you have a blog on your website, do you want to write on LinkedIn, or you're saying to go on LinkedIn if you don't have your own blog?
What I'm saying is that if you don't have a blog on your website and don't feel like you want to do that, there are other places to quote unquote blog.
Okay.
Ideally, you want to have the blog on your website and be blogging there, but you don't have to. What
And then
you
do you want us to share it to LinkedIn though? Like, is that
or
and
where
mediums that give it help? Like in the
yes.
content marketing space, is it like, I don't know, is it helpful or effective for us?
Yeah, it's one of those, what do they say about if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a noise? The same thing holds true for content. If you create this awesome piece of content, but nobody reads it or sees it or hears it, what good does it do? It doesn't do any good. So you need to promote your content. That can be a post on LinkedIn, that can be a post on Facebook, that could be a video snippet on YouTube. It could be an audiogram. It could be, there's any number of ways that you can promote your content. And that makes me think of something that's very important too, is when you have a piece of content, don't look at it as one piece of content. You can repurpose content. You can turn a video script into a blog post. It needs to be massaged probably, but there's no reason that you can't make use of things that you already have and put it into different formats. And smart content marketers do that. They will turn things into memes or quotes, quote graphics, or there's so many ways you can do it. And people aren't going to know the difference. They're not going to be like, oh, wait a minute, I saw this somewhere else. We're all busy people. Our attention spans are very small online, and and if they do recognize it, so what? 99% of the people who see it or hear it aren't going to know that it was repurposed from something else.
That's interesting that you say that, because this, you'll see, everything that you're talking about, John, will happen. We'll have a blog about this conversation. There'll be a YouTube video. There'll be Instagram, LinkedIn. But here's the thing. I'll have people that said, oh, I remember hearing the podcast and I loved what I learned. And then it's like that sort of repurposed piece will come out on the YouTube channel, or they'll be on our website and read the blog and they'll say, oh, that was that thing I forgot to write down when I listened to the podcast. So it's interesting because we try to make it new and interesting again, so that all of our guests can be like highlighted and showcased in a different way. But I will get feedback from our audience about how they're like, oh, I heard that again when I needed to hear it.
And one point I make in the book is that people learn differently. So you have visual learners, you have people who are more auditory. And so there may be somebody who is like, don't like podcasts. No offense to you or any podcaster.
Right. But, I'm a bit like, they want to read stuff, right?
Yeah, they want to read things. So if you put it into a different format and turn it into a blog, part of a podcast into a blog post, focus on a specific topic and create something that is more appealing to somebody who wants to read rather than somebody who loves to listen to podcasts while they're on the treadmill at the gym.
Right. I love that. And I'm excited. I can't wait to read your book, because we have a content strategy over here, but it's like I think it's just the rules of being a business owner. You're always looking to improve. Like, where are the cracks? How do we make it better? And how do we do the same thing for our clients? So I am so excited to read your book. Is there any other secrets we need to know about before we run out and buy this book?
I was just thinking, one thing that people need to really keep in mind is the goal of content marketing and production of the content and the promotion of it is not always, we want to see X amount of revenue coming in. Sometimes it's very hard to tie your content marketing efforts to a revenue stream. So you need to really look at it as, hey, we got X number of additional visitors to our website, or we got, pardon me, 1,000 shares on this blog post when we put it on Facebook. Things like that, you can track the metrics, and that shows you that you're achieving something that gets your brand out there, gives you more awareness, and it may be tied to more revenue. Yeah. Ideally, that's what you want to happen, but there's not necessarily a 100% tie between the two. And good content marketers inside companies at brands know this. They know that there's not necessarily a direct correlation. For instance, you might have a white paper that you put out, posted on your website. And in order to get that white paper, somebody has to sign up and offer their email. Well, now you've captured an email for a potential customer, or maybe somebody who's already a customer. That is a win. And it may not necessarily directly, immediately connect to more revenue, but it could down the road.
You just made me think of something. And I think when I first, going way back, maybe it was 2010, maybe it could have been 2008 for all I remember. But the very first time I ever heard anything about content marketing, I'm like, what's that? Well, I just had this poof epiphany all of a sudden right now. Thank you.
Well, good.
So to me, hearing what you just said, and I love that this just became crystallized. It's like content marketing, you've made it so it's the relationship marketing, which is the piece that sometimes is missing. Like, that's the thing I always feel that really can make you stand out from the sea of sameness, and why it's important is like the way that you connect with people. And that is amazing and beautiful. And thank you for just bringing that to light for me.
Let me give you a real quick example. So there was
it was like a poof. I
a
love that.
rather hilarious skit on Saturday Night Live recently about Cologuard, which is a cancer screening tool that is sent to your house, and you give a sample and then you
Okay.
mail it back, and it detects 92% of colon cancer cases. Well, this skit, of course, spoofed Cologuard. I'm not going to go into the details, but
I was
look it
like,
up,
uh-huh.
look it
But
up
go
on
ahead.
YouTube. Look it up on YouTube. It's hilarious. Woody Harrelson's in it. And I love the fact that Cologuard leaned into it and basically did a so their spokesperson is a talking box, and
Yeah.
that the box is what the test comes in. So they did this whole reel of how our spokesperson could be a spokesperson for other things. Basically, like, hey, I'm an actor, and they leaned into it and they kind of poked fun at themselves. So they took advantage of a moment, and I think really created something that was in line with the skit rather than being hacked off that they were poked fun at on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, I love that. I'm like, I did not see that skit or hear of it, but like that, because you have to laugh at yourself no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, and I really
You gotta
appreciate the
laugh
fact
with
that,
people, right? If they're laughing at you,
yeah,
laugh with them. Like if there's no sense in getting frustrated with that. So I love that.
well, I really appreciated the fact that Cologuard had enough sense to take advantage of that moment, but also to not be so stern and formal about it, but turn it into something fun and light. And, I'm going to remember that much more than I would have remembered if they came out with a statement saying, we're really disappointed with Saturday Night Live for,
We're highly
spoofing
offended.
our product. It's like, that's
Right.
standard corporate speak.
So they took the uncorporate approach, which is really great for their content shares. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get lots of content shares with that. So,
Beautiful.
sometimes you got to look for the moments like that and capitalize on them. And that's when things can go viral. You can't necessarily plan viral content. It just goes viral because it's great content. And if you purposely are trying to create viral content, sometimes that ends up slapping you in the face and not being a good approach.
Yeah, I love that. Um, so how can we get the book?
The best way to get the book is to either search for it on Amazon, and it's in audiobook form as well as paperback, hardback, and ebook. You can also go to my website, which is John Egan, EGAN.net. And there you can find where to buy the book, but also you can sign up for my new content marketing newsletter called the Stripped Down Post.
Well, thank you, John, so much. We are so excited to go, and I'm so glad that you have it on audio book because that's how a lot of the people around here learn. So thank you for that. Um, Go check out this book. It sounds amazing. I'm going to be reading it as well. So maybe we'll have to have you on for a follow-up. And please remember, we always want you showing up as your most beyond common selves in every area of life and business. So creating content marketing that's in alignment with that. And John has given us the tools and resources to do that. So go check out his book. And John, thank you so much. I can't wait to check it out and have another conversation with you about this.
Thank you so
For
much. It was
everyone.
a pleasure.